Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with everyone. We're back. So it was just Ashley and I last week. Me and Ashley and I, and everyone liked that way better than typical. All the listeners wrote in and said, "Don't go back to normal."
It figures.
Kyle and I both liked it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
They loved it,
to be honest.
So it's just who knows what will be here. But Joe is here, which I think is very admirable. Having
Absolutely.
an infant. How's life, Joe? How are
Tiring?
things? Tiring?
Yeah. I don't know. It's different. I don't really know.
All right.
What do you say to the? I don't like. You guys have had kids. There's schedules you keep to, and it's tiring. And I sleep when I can.
Yeah. Is he still feeding all the time?
That's a minimum every 3 hours, or when he's just hungry. So
okay.
Sometimes because this is when being on the West Coast is bad because I have to wake up earlier for the podcast, but Liz will kind of take over mostly for the night. But yeah, it's still waking up every 3 hours at least. So it's fun, but still getting things done.
Does he get hungrier after he works out?
All the time.
I'll take care of the segues here, Kyle. All right. Yeah. I'll take care of the segues because I'm not done. I'm not done with the updates portion. All right.
I was doing eccentric bicep curls with him. So while he feeds to keep him awake, he just wants to clench. So I just pull it away and then I just pulls it back. So we're already
working him out.
We're already doing it.
That's awesome. So I want to get update on 300, 200 workouts from everybody. How's it going?
Why are you taking shots at me?
He's taking a shot at me. What you talking about?
No, I thought you were doing well, Joe. I thought
I'm making a comeback, but it's a very slow comeback.
So give us the update. So everyone on the team has some version of the Daily Over Decades Challenge going. I'm gonna start with Kyle. Okay, Kyle. You don't seem to care that I'm asking this question
about it.
Well, because I don't know. Ashley thought I was taking a shot at her. Joe thought I was taking a shot at him. I was just looking for updates. Kyle, how's your challenge going?
My challenge is going well. I'm at 73 out of 300. So
I'm not catching up to you.
300.1. So yeah, things are going well.
And that's the goal, right? 300.1.
Yep.
On track. Any challenges in hitting the number of sessions needed each week?
No. I feel like it's kind of weird. Adding just one extra session per week is like, I feel more sore than I used to.
Yeah.
And you're only doing extra, 30 minutes, you said?
Even just one. Well, 30 minutes is the standard. I mean, I try to get the full workout in, but and most days
I just meant for your extra one.
Yeah. The extra one is typically actually I'm getting up on Sunday mornings now, before church and training on Sunday mornings, which is new.
Does the extra training session make you
6
hungrier?
days? Oh gosh, here we go.
I will say, yeah. Worship has gotten a lot more lively since I started training before church.
All right.
Yeah. Challenge is going well.
All right. Joe, how's your challenge going, man? I know, I was surprised you gave week 1 at least. You were on track even with a newborn. So are you still on track?
Yes. So because I did the math after yesterday, so I'm at 69 now, and I did the math, and I have to do 6 sessions a week for the rest of the year to hit it. So, and I've been hitting 6 every week for the last 6-7 weeks. So if I keep it up, I mean, if all things stays well, then yes, I will. But yes,
So next month will be like, if I do 7 days a week for the rest of the year, I can still do it. So why don't you just fit in a couple of 7-day weeks?
Well, I did 2 weeks ago. Was it the week before the kid came? Now I'm at 6, which
The kid.
6 with the kid. Yeah, I mean, baby, whatever. He's got a name. And
Actually, I forgot his name.
Yeah,
I didn't.
it's OSCAR. Let's see. No, Oscar Mayer. Yeah,
I love
We
it.
got it, man.
I totally got it. I was like, wait.
So yeah,
his name is
I'm
not
getting 6 in.
Oscar.
We're getting 6 in, and it's gonna help once we get the rest of our freaking workout equipment. Our main shipment hasn't come in, so we don't have the stationary bike in the house where I can just hop on the bike for 20 minutes. We have the Echo bike or the Fringe assault bike, which is fantastic. But like, if I just want to go for a bike ride, I don't want to be on the assault bike for 20 minutes, even though I can. But it's been all right. Yeah,
Go
I don't know.
for like zone 2 walk as shown for today.
I don't think I can get in zone 2 walk.
Oh yeah, you can. Challenge accepted. You do it.
No, his resting heart rate's 29.
Oh, that's true. You're not normal.
Well, I have been. So our dog, for some reason, has gotten this like middle-aged spurt of energy, and now I have to take him for a run, like once a week. So I'll go for like a 2-mile run, and then I'll come back, grab him, and we'll go for another 2 miles, and then that'll be a day. And yeah, but it definitely helped that I started mid-February. I started doing 6 days a week, so I was already in the routine. So now 6 just feels normal. If I was like doing this and then trying to get to 6, I'd fail. I probably would have failed, but it felt good though. All of and adding the extra day, like Sexy Saturday day, all of my body stuff has gotten a lot better. So like my presses felt better, my pull-ups are better, my dips are better. All the stuff has gotten better. Just adding that extra day of just accessory work, just like a casual lifting session.
Cool.
Nice.
Ashley, how's it going for you?
It's good. Joe and I are on the same day. We're on 69. So Kyle's 4 days ahead of me.
Swing.
It's okay. I only worked out 4 times last week though. But again, for me, 200.3 is right on track. We're doing good.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm on track. Yesterday was the funniest day I've had in the entire challenge. I almost didn't even count it as a training session, but after I started thinking about it, I was like, I'm counting it. So
what was it?
It was yard work. No, I'm kidding. What happened was, as you all know, and I'll let the listeners know, there's a stomach bug ripping its way through my family. I might not even make it through the podcast right now. We'll see. And so Eleanor, our youngest, went down. Graham, middle child, he went down. Emily went down. Emily goes down. Everything's down. And so then William, my oldest son, he's good. I'm still good. Everyone's asleep and in bed last night because that's just how my day went. There was no like, oh, I'm going to work out at my normal time because everyone's throwing up. I'm just like cleaning up puke and like whatever else. Sorry, maybe we should put like an E on this episode or something. If
because you said puke.
Yeah. Yeah, I say a lot worse things most of the time. So anyway, I didn't get to work out at my normal time. And then it got to like, I think it was like 8 p.m. And I was like, okay, I can fit in like a 30-minute, 300-calorie session right now. I just need to like go out in the garage and do it. And this was like completely like, I had no plan. And I also was feeling a little weird. I was like, my stomach didn't feel great. And I was like, maybe I'm next. We'll see what happens. I don't want to go crazy here. And so I put a sandbag on my back and I get on my treadmill and I just start walking. I walk for like 10 minutes, which burns like not a lot of calories. And then I have to go inside because Graham is like getting sick again. And this was just, I'll skip that happening over and over again, but that was the workout. It was like, go out to the garage, go back inside to help somebody who's sick, not doing well, some kid, whatever. And I'd come back outside. I do like 10 kettlebell swings, go back inside. And then eventually I was like, I can't be in the garage anymore. Like this isn't working. And I was at like 170 calories between doing like kettlebell swings and no, this isn't not impressive. It took like an hour to get to 170 calories with like,
No, but I mean, just like back and forth, like that's,
yeah. Well, I was making progress, and then that all like came like stopped. And so I was like, I'm just going to stay in the living room and I'm just going to do push-ups and sit-ups until I get to 300 calories. And in an air-conditioned space, doing push-ups and sit-ups, that burns like nothing. It's like
Right.
they almost don't even credit you for activity.
you should
Like
go
I'm
burpees.
like complete muscle failure. I can't do anything else, and it's like 2 calories. I'm like, this is not working. I like finally made it to 200, and I'm at like muscle failure, and so I did 100 calories worth of jumping jacks to finish out the day because I didn't want to do.
I wish someone videoed that.
Yeah, I didn't want to do burpees because, like I was talking about, I didn't want to go too hardcore with any of my workout because I was afraid
Right.
I was going to puke, and I knew burpees probably would have just pushed that button for me, and so I did jumping jacks in my kitchen, in sets 4 counts, 4-count exercise if you know how to do a jumping jack, 4-count exercise. I would do 25 repetitions. I'd rest for a minute and do it again, and that still took forever. So I got a lot of time yesterday in my training session for the week, but it was 301 calories. And I like stopped the watch, ripped off the heart rate monitor. And I was like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Very upset about the whole workout. Barely counted, but it counts, right? I'll let you all be the judge if it counts.
Oh yeah. I mean, you did extra work. It's not like you were put your watch on as you're like cleaning puke only. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. See how fast I can clean this puke up. Yeah. Okay, so that was it. I wanted to share that story, but we can get into the study, the effects of acute exercise on appetite and energy intake in men and women. There you go. 24 participants, 12 males, 12 females, similar age and BMI characteristics, completed the study. And the purpose of the study was to compare the effects of an acute bout of resistance exercise, aerobic exercise, and a sedentary control condition on hormonal and behavioral indices of appetite regulation and energy intake in men and women. So that is why they were doing it. And so kind of they had like a questionnaire version of it. They also were actually measuring hormonal response, which I thought was really cool. But I wanted to start this study off by more anecdotal, asking the three of you, does exercise, let's go on like they're doing an acute. So like after you work out a training session, do you feel that you're more hungry after exercise? So Joe, yes or no? Are you more hungry after you work out? Or hungrier?
It's kind of subjective on what I'm doing working out, but I don't think any more than I normally would. So I'd probably favor no. I just know I need to eat.
Yeah. Have you noticed a difference between resistance or aerobic exercise like they tested?
Well, yeah, it depends on the intensity of it. So like if I sweat a ton and for some reason with lifting my heart rate was up a lot, then yes. But if it was like a zone 2 run, I might not be as hungry. So it just depends on how long my heart rate was up and the intensity. I might feel pretty drained after the more intense ones where it's like I just know I need something. But it also could just be me knowing I need something.
All right, Kyle.
Yeah, same thing for me. It kind of depends on the intensity of the training session as to how hungry I feel afterwards. I've been noticing I've actually moved back to I don't train in the middle of the day anymore. I train at like 5 a.m. And so like I think that change is also just like I definitely feel hungry after I train at 5 a.m. And so
it makes fasting harder if you want to.
Yeah, it definitely does. And that's something that I'm dealing with right now. Like as soon as I'm done, I'm like, but I'm done at like 6 and I'm like, well, no, fasting window's not over yet, but I'm hungry. So we'll see. Anyway. Yeah. So, but it depends on the intensity of the exercise. If it's a super intense, like I did Condition Me to the Grave on Saturday, I definitely had to eat after that one. It was just, I had to eat something. So, but that's my experience.
And how about you, Ashley?
No, I don't get hungry after training sessions. And even if the guys talk about like a higher intensity or I sweat more, especially as it gets warmer in Florida, for me, I find that I need like electrolytes pretty much right after. So that if not, I kind of get a headache. if I don't do that correctly. But for food wise, I have to not tell myself, but I make myself do like a post-workout smoothie at least an hour, no later than an hour after. But no, I don't. And I work out at 7 a.m. typically, but I break my fast because I am not allowed to be fasted, just for hormonal issues there. So, and I take like collagen with my coffee. So it's not like I'm eating a full meal or something like that. I just break my fast that way. And then I have my breakfast smoothie after I work out.
So yeah. And like if I have to eat something after a training session, I typically don't eat like a whole big meal. Like it's, it's either a protein shake or it's like a banana or some peanut butter or something like that. Just something small just to get something in there. And that typically holds me over until I actually have mealtime.
Yeah, and I bet the time of day really matters as well.
Yeah.
I've definitely done both early and now I work out in the afternoon. But I would agree with all of you. I don't really notice being a lot hungrier, after a training session, but maybe later though, like a few hours after, but not right after. But I do know the inverse for me is true. If I feel like my appetite hormones or whatever are completely non-existent, inoperable if I don't work out. Like if I don't work out, I can just sit around and like drink water all day. And I'm talking about more on a regular basis. If I take like 2 or 3 days off, I have zero appetite, don't want to eat. Like I've always kind of been that way. And so when it's like regular exercise keeps my hunger in check. And I feel like the more you exercise regularly, the better you are at listening to your body when you're actually hungry and not hungry. And I think that's all that really is. It's like my body's like, no, we're good. Like you've had enough to sustain what we're doing, but we don't really need any more. And I think that's a good place to be. So anyway, the conclusion of the study, direct from the study, was the data suggests that women report lower ratings of appetite following an acute bout of exercise or sedentary time when compared to men, yet have similar relative energy expenditure, I think. Future work is needed to examine energy intake. Yeah. Future work is needed to examine whether sex-based differences in appetite regulation and energy intake are present with chronic exercise of different modalities. So interesting conclusion. I think we could pull a lot more out of the study itself. So what all did you think of the study?
I like the 3 different activities that they had. They did a strength one and a conditioning one. The conditioning one being in basically what we would say zone 2 for 35 minutes. And the resistance training was 12 different exercises to failure. So I had 12 to 15 reps with an RPE of 9 to 10. So I guess it could be fairly intense lifting session. So, but I like that they did 2 different ones and then another one where they just did nothing for somewhat of control. I think this is kind of a first. Whenever we do studies of physically inactive people, this was a pretty high bar for physically inactive for what they had. Their bar for physically inactive was less than 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity and fewer than 2 resistance training sessions per week, which to a lot of people would be like, if I get that much in, then that's my goal for the week. So that was pretty interesting. I'm not sure. I couldn't figure out how I felt about it one way or the other, whether that was a good bar to have, like a high or low, but kind of cool. No statistical difference. I think I guess they were trying to determine the physiological, like whether they actually feel hungry, but I think a lot of it could be very psychological when it comes to being hungry after. And one of the first things that I kept thinking of with eating after working out and stuff is people who treat themselves after workouts. They do a workout and like culturally and even like marketing and stuff, people will do a workout and be like, okay, I earned this. I'm going to treat myself and I have this. Then people are conditioned to think that they're hungry after a workout because they just worked out, but they might not actually be hungry. So that's just something that I just kept circling back to, and I don't know how you guys felt and can discuss more. But
yeah, I hate that mentality. You're right. A lot of people have it, but it's like that's the same as like, hey, I made $100 this week. I'm going to spend $100 this week.
Right.
It's like it's like, oh, you don't want to build anything. You just want to. All right, yeah, like that's a horrible way to fitness to go about.
Yeah. So if anything, this was a good study for against that to where like, hey, you might have always had that treat, that thing after you work out because your mind says you're hungry, but like according to this, no matter what you do, your hunger is pretty much going to be the same. All you need to do is just actually fuel yourself instead of just thinking you need to eat this or can't eat this. That's mostly what I had. Ashley?
I was very interested in the whole, like, because of the hormonal responses that they were looking for. So the stipulations or rules that they had for females in order to stay in the study. I mean, you couldn't have had a baby. You couldn't have been post or premenopausal. Like, oh, you couldn't be lactating. Like, there's so many different rules that they had for females. I did notice that the macro breakdown, I don't know, Kyle, if you took the kind of same takeaway for this working with CTE folks, but for Women's Health Track, we kind of stay within that macro breakdown. It's a little different by like 5% on each of them. But so I found that very interesting that we had kind of started that way. And their fasted state was only 10 hours. So, which for us, I mean, if you're sticking to the elements, like we think 12 hours at least until you eat your next meal. I mean, we're not necessarily calling that fasted. We're just giving your body enough time to, you know, digest and get all that stuff out. So I thought the test meal was quite impressive, like lasagna and pound cake and Coke. Like, I don't think even after working out, I would look at that meal and go, that's what I want. Like,
No.
like that was quite, it was just ridiculous in my point of view. So I think the whole hunger after workout, like I agree with Joe. Like, I feel like some people justify it as because I worked out, I need this, or it's maybe mental. It could be completely mental right after. And so I thought, you know, if you are looking at it that way, maybe that's why you end up eating poorly after. We always talk about post-workout protein and shakes and stuff like that. And I just talked about my breakfast smoothie. And I feel like if you plan what you're going to have, even after a workout, it makes it super easy to be able to do something that's not crap and that's not going to negate your workout, right? So I think you just need to be smart about what you are fueling your body with after. We do have a fuels course, but anyways, just thoughts that I had about that whole thing. Kyle.
Yeah. So going back to the macro breakdown, I think it worked well for what they were doing, because this was a short-term study. And they're also working with people they're not working with people who are lean. They're working with people. They specifically chose people who were overweight or obese. So, you know, they had a BMI rating that they had to meet before they could be included as well. So, and again, they could not have been regularly working out for like 6 months before and all that kind of stuff. And so, so you're working with people who are kind of newbies to this whole process, and they had familiarization process for them and stuff too. But you're also working with people who are sugar burners anyway. And so I think a 50% carb macro breakdown, I think was fine for what they were doing. Probably not what I would do if we were coaching somebody, but we are coaching people for the long term. And so I think for this study, that was exactly what they needed to do. Because if you drastically change somebody's macro intake, that's going to skew your results of, what's actually happening here. So I think they just needed to try to keep something close to standard of what these people were eating before, so that they could measure what they needed to measure and not just have drastic changes. But yeah, I agree with you. I do not want lasagna after a training session. That's just,
I
also
never want lasagna.
Yeah. I also don't want pound cake after a training. Now, for dinner that night, I think I'd probably be in the mood for some lasagna, but I don't want that as my meal right after, like right after a training session. So, so that one kind of threw me for a loop, but I get what they were doing there. They were trying to measure how much people were going to take in. They were measuring their energy intake post exercise. And so let's give them a calorie dense meal and just let them eat as much as they want, and we'll measure it. One thing that I did that future studies I hope will do, like I liked the study and the way they structured it and the way they carried it out. I would like to see them measure the actual energy expenditure during the training. They didn't do that for this one, and they even talked about that at one section of their study. But I would like to see like do both, like measure measure what people think they're eating and what they think their energy intake is, but also measure what their actual expenditure versus intake is, and see how big. I think that would highlight like just how big the mental side of this is, because I think that's what we're talking about, of behavioral changes and of just conditioning and things like that. If you think that you're hungry, but maybe you're not actually that hungry. You think you need to eat a whole lot of food, but actually you don't need to eat a whole lot of food. So I think it would be cool if they actually measured the energy expenditure during the training session and then compared that to people's intake post-exercise and how much they ate. And they also talked about they weren't measuring people's food and people's calories that they ate in the days following the session. They were only measuring, what happened right after the session and that huge meal that they gave them right after the session. Then they let them go home. But I think Jerred actually said something about it too. And they point out in the study of it's possible that people are compensating for this energy expenditure for days after each training session, as opposed to just compensating for it in that same day. I think both are true. You're compensating in the same day, but maybe also compensating over time as well. But I think that would be cool too, if they measure an energy expenditure during the session. And then also, could you follow people and have them fill out a food log when they're not in the lab, and just see, as well as you can with self-reported calories, see how much people are compensating for their training over time.
Hey man, it's your study. You could just throw them in a clinic and not let them leave, however you want to run it. So yeah, I think it does. There's a lot to like kind of piece together, and you kind of have to take other episodes that we've done. So hitting on the point Joe made about how a lot of people look at, okay, well, I burned 300 calories in this workout. I can now eat extra 300 calories. And if you just think about that, I don't know where your calorie burn is at for each one of you, but we're all tracking it now for this challenge. And mine are 300 to 600. I would say, to be honest, it's on the lower end of that. It's probably closer to 400. I have the occasional day that might get to 600, 650. And I think in the summertime, that's going to happen a lot more just because of how hot it is. But I'm eating like 3,500 calories a day, probably. And so how can I burn 300, but eat 3,500? So that kind of math doesn't actually work out. Everyone on the podcast here knows why that is true, is because it's not that mathematical. It is to some degree. Like, you want to look at calories in, calories out, but you're not trying to burn so much that it, where you can eat more or whatever in that given day. And because it doesn't actually work that way. You're training your body to be something different than it is with regular exercise. So you're building more muscle mass, which is just going to take more calories to sustain just through having muscle mass. That's why weightlifting is good for everybody. And then if we look at going back to the Biggest Loser study, you see what happens when you slam that lever, as that pedal down as hard as you can, and you burn 3,000 calories a day from training sessions, and then you break your metabolism, and you can't burn calories very well after that point anymore. So there's a fine line. It's like you just need this like low to moderate consistency every day, month after month, year after year, almost like daily over decades or something, is how you should probably approach things. And so I think just piecing all these studies together will help you kind of look at this. So no, you're not going to be that hungry after a workout. Typically, men, I guess, have a little bit more, according to this study, they say that they're hungrier after the workout. These guys did, at least. But I do know I would love to see longer term stuff like Kyle saying, even if it's just a week. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but if you've ever gone on like a really hard strength protocol, let's just say a strength track or like a strength program, and it's different than what you have been doing. And so if I were to like get off hard to kill and then just go straight, like just lifting, a lot of lifting, heavy weights, high volume, I'm going to be very hungry. My appetite is going to change quite a bit from doing that. And I've never noticed that with, not as much. My appetite increases, but I've never noticed that as much with aerobic. Like when I've taken on like a huge load of aerobic exercise, I've never noticed being a lot hungrier, even though my calorie burn is a lot higher. So I think that also says a lot about how muscles are being used. And again, none of that is from a scientific standpoint from this study. It's more anecdotal, but I just feel like that's probably true if they were to study it at a week long, given the different modalities, aerobic, or resistance exercise. I think that it would be different. So definitely kill that whole I did this today, so I deserve this. That's awful. And my typical how I walk people through nutrition changes. One, it's a lot of cutting out very simple things like sugary drinks, stuff like that. And then two, I don't like to tackle people's diet overall. The first thing I tackle is your post-workout meal, because I don't care if you're trying to lose weight, gain muscle, be healthy. You need to lock that in your post-workout meal, because just certain things need to happen to rebuild. You don't want to leave your body at a loss during that time period. Even if you're trying to lose weight, you don't want to be like, oh, great, like I just burned 500 calories. Let's keep on with the deficit. I won't even eat after this. That's not how it works. You don't want to screw up your metabolism that way. That's more like biggest loser approach. And so eating the right things, eating enough leucine, protein, carbohydrates to replenish, making sure you have, like Ashley mentioned, electrolytes and water. Those things are all very important. And then there are, after that, the next levers you can pull are going to be a dietary restriction. So what you eat, caloric restriction, how much you eat, or time restriction when you eat. So fasting, how many calories, or just food specific. I'm not going to eat these things. I'm going to eat cleaner, whatever. Those are the three levers to pull after you have kind of cut out the crap, fixed post-workout meal. Then you can move to pulling between 1 and 3 of the levers that I just mentioned. And then your body weight will change. And all of it very, very low in relation to your actual exercise you did that day. So my takeaway from the study is really like, don't worry too much about that. Like feed yourself appropriately, even if it's force feeding yourself appropriately post-workout, no matter your goal, and then worry about your diet after that. But you can't adopt that mindset of, I burned 1,000 calories today. It is cheesecake time. Like that. That's not gonna work out for you long term. But that was my big takeaway for this one. Anyone else?
Got it all.
Well, let's get into the topic. So we're warming up here. We're warming up for Murph. I mean, this is pretty early too. This is a very early warm up for Murph. We got a while.
It's next month.
Look, we take Murph seriously here. All right. This isn't like the week of, and people are going to try and Google their Murph tips. Like, okay, how can I do better at Murph? It's 5 days away.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's when people start Googling Murph. They're like, hey, the workout's tomorrow. What can I do? Oh, what do I eat? What pill do I take? Will Amazon be able to deliver it before tomorrow?
Yeah.
Gracious.
Yeah. And the answer is beets. All you need, just a bunch of beets before Murph. I don't know what else you need to say.
Not the music.
Yeah. Not the headphones.
Wow. I'm so I meant Beats by Dre. Actually, get both. A lot of the vegetable and get some Beats by Dre, and just whatever Ashley recommends to listen to, and you're good to go. Yeah. Well, Kyle stuff's always weird. So, all right. Getting into Murph. This is more for beginners, right? Like people not accustomed to the volume, not accustomed to the intensity. What are our tips, tricks, and everything else? So I won't start. Joe, you started off. What do you recommend for beginners?
I'm sure my first couple are ones that other people are going to say. So one that I thought of is to break it down into circuits. So you're going to need to definitely increase that the body weight volume, those exercises, push-ups and squats as much as possible, because even though when you're experienced at Murph, it's going to be very cardio heavy. But if you're newer, it's just going to come down to reps, and you should be sitting there and waiting for your muscles to recover. So I would say start with, depending on where you're at, a 5-minute circuit of 5, 10, 15. So 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, 5 minutes, rest for 2 minutes, repeat that circuit 3 or 4 times. And then once those start to feel fine, feel good, like after a couple of times, bump it up to 10 minutes, rest 3, do another 10. And then after the 10s feel fine, bump it up to 15s. And then just do a single, and we program this, a single 20-minute session of called Murph Practice. We call it Murph Practice, but other people would think of it as Cindy. You can put a vest on, and so do those circuits, because that's the sort of intensity and most common rep scheme that you're going to move to. But then you have that rest in between to actually recover a little bit, and that way you can get as much body weight volume as you can. And this could just be as we've been calling them, the 6th day workouts if you're on the challenge or outside of any other programming. So I'd say the circuits, because you can even do it as a warm-up if you really want to. Just add in I do a little warm-up, add in a 5-minute circuit, and then get to your regular workout. Kyle?
Yeah, so I would say, I think one thing you had in your notes that I also had in my notes that you didn't say, I appreciate, because I love EMOMs, and I've talked about EMOMs recently on the podcast and how much I use them for skill practice, just for different things. And I think that's great to use getting ready for Murph, especially pull-ups. Like, pull-ups are difficult for people to do. And so I think it is good that we're talking about it so early, because now you need to start working on those things. You need to start working on the things that you do during Murph, especially if you're not great at pull-ups. And EMOMs are a great way to get better at any skill that you're doing. We just did, actually, I switched to H2K for this cycle, and we did pistols on Monday, and I have not done pistols in a while, and I suck at them again. So I'm going to be doing some pistol EMOMs, but so definitely EMOMs for skill practice. And on the back of that, I'm going to say, especially thinking about pull-ups and other things that people may not be great at, scaling is okay. With Murph, we're looking for a stimulus here. You know what I mean? If you want to be one of the purists, and you have to do Murph a certain way, then that's okay. You go be that thing. But I'm going to say that scaling is okay if you're not great at pull-ups. You don't need to be trying to do a whole bunch of pull-ups just to get Murph done. You need to pick a scaled version of a pull-up, and you need to be able to do a lot of those. And so whatever scaled version of the pull-up you're doing, or push-up you're doing, or whatever it is, use that during your skill practice that you're doing. And whatever movement you're using, whatever scaled version of the movement that you're using during your practice, that's what you should use when you actually do Murph. Keep it the same. And then over time, as you continue doing the workout and you continue practicing these things, you actually get to the RX version of the workout, and you can do it and you can crush it. But that's what I would say. Ashley.
So I guess I will start with an admission that I never prepped for Murph ever, I don't think, even as someone who has done Murph multiple times. I think we all can share like a
More fun that way.
Well, I might be a little controversial on this, as we are trying to help people that are doing their first stuff. But if we are all pretty much following our Garage Gym Athlete programming, I think you can get through some version of Murph. You may not complete it, like if you're time capping yourself, or if you're just doing it to do it, it may be a little slow, but I don't think you have to add too much. I think we all probably have a first Murph story. Like mine was, in a CrossFit class where I had 60 minutes to do it, and I didn't even finish it. And we did it like the 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats. There was no breaking it up. And I thought that workout was the worst if you do it that way. But if you do want to do some tricks, I think that exactly what the boys just said, like there's not really too much to add. I think you can add maybe some calisthenics at the end of training if you wanted to, like throw in some, body weight movements that you're doing. Because if you're doing your first Murph, I would just suggest don't even throw on the vest, just do it with your body weight and see what you can do. And then for running, if that's something that you struggle with, or, you want to try and get those mile times down, I think we talked about this because of the perfect mile, but I think 400-meter repeats are actually really, really good. And I think that's something that you can throw on a rest day, or maybe instead of a meet yourself Saturday, you focus on that a little bit. And then even you can play around with like half Murphs if you want to do that on certain meet yourself Saturdays if you want, or an extra training session if you're trying to get that 6th day in. Or you can just go crazy and do the GGA 5K, and then you'll really be prepared for Murph. So there's that. Jerred.
Yeah. A lot of good tips. I'll probably say the same thing in different ways. So let me just do that. Now I really like Joe's idea of kind of throwing it into your warm up. I to be honest, I think I do a version of Murph as my warm up half the time for my warm up, maybe more, just because it's so easy. So I'll do I never like decide on how much I'm going to do it. Cause it's warm up, right? I'm not like trying to do anything in particular. So sometimes it'll be a full like quarter mile run or a half mile run, or it'll just be 2 minutes, 3 minutes of running without paying attention to the distance. And then I'll do a couple rounds of 5, 10, 15 for pull-ups, push-ups, and squats. And then I'll do another run. So it's like a mini Murph for the warm-up. But I never let that take more than 10 minutes. I'm never looking to go fast. I'm never looking at intensity. It is just a warm-up. And I think doing that, throwing that into your warm-up is an easy thing to do. It's also a really good warm-up for pretty much any training session. I think that's an easy way to start building up some volume if you're not accustomed to the volume. And we're right at the point where you're not going to be able to add a lot of time to your mile. So what Ashley said is about the only thing that you can do at 400-meter repeats. If you were to start now, like doing once a week, 400-meter repeats, you might be able to take, let's say 10 to 15 seconds off your mile just through some speed work. But anything beyond, once you get to like 30 seconds or above, unless your mile time is just trash, like just awful, you're not taking minutes off of it. You might be able to do 10 to 15 seconds with speed work, but if you want 30 seconds, a minute off your mile time, and it's already a decent mile time, then you're going to have to work for several months to build that low end aerobic base. So you might not have time for that, but you can do the speed work. Ashley mentioned warm-ups, Joe mentioned, I think are great ways to get into it. Other ways, just adding reps in. We've talked about the push-up grid. And you can do this like Monday can be push-up grid. Tuesday could be squat grid. Wednesday could be pull-up grid, where you're just putting a piece of grid on or a grid on a piece of paper, and you're filling those with reps throughout the day. Or you can do it dedicated. Like I'm going to fill out this grid in the next 20 minutes. There are a bunch of different ways to tackle these, but it's really just accumulating that volume, I think, is what most people need to do. And I agree with Ashley that if you're sticking to the training, you don't need a lot more work necessarily. You're going to be physically ready. It's just whether or not you want to be, if you're looking for a better time or something like that. Yeah. then you might want to get through it, because at this point, it's not like I'd say for most garage gym athletes who've been around for a while, Murph is not like this terribly challenging workout. It's more of like, how am I going to push myself this time? Am I going to go a little bit faster? What's going to be different about it? But there's not like this, I don't know if I can do this, where a lot of people walk into that workout thinking that, the first time they've ever done it, like this is going to be really, really hard. So you're ready. If you've been doing garage gym athlete training for at least a cycle or two or more, you're definitely ready for the workout.
Yep. Especially on the strength track this cycle. Joel, goodness gracious.
Joel.
Joe.
Wow. All right.
Here's a new name now.
Just
Joel,
renamed
the
you.
strength guy.
Joe is prepping us for Murph, man. It's been good.
It's Joe's alter ego.
Murph or Joel?
Joel.
Okay.
Any more tips? tricks?
I mean, the last
strategies?
one would be you could just do the Murph Burner program coming up
It's true.
because it does all of these things.
Yeah. If you that one is it burns.
It's intense. Yes.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Aptly named.
and I mean, so if we're just focused 100% on prep, yeah, you're gonna have to decide. I also think on how you are going to approach this workout when it's time to do the workout. So if you're gonna redline it and you haven't been redlining at all, maybe throw that in once a week too, just in preparation. So if you're like, you know what, I'm taking the heart rate to 175 and I'm not letting it down until Murph is over. Okay. You know, I've done it. I've done it probably 200 times. And
But for a beginner,
yeah, this is what I'm telling them to get ready for it.
oh,
So if you want to take it to that level, you're like, I'm going all out. The workout means a lot. You know, I want to push myself as hard as I possibly can. I wouldn't do that just on the Murph day that you do it. I would have some lead up since we're far out. And that's what I'm saying. You decide what you're going to do. If you already know if you already know that you're going to go that hard and you haven't been at all, you're going to want to start going hard, or at least some version, like 80% of how hard you plan to go, 85% of how hard you plan to go, working up to that once a week until you get there. I think that would be really helpful, especially with those miles. And yeah, start paying attention to the weather and acclimate if you can.
Oh my goodness. Last year when I had to do my Murph at the end of Murph Burner and it was just getting into the 100, there was 105 rain. That was terrible.
Yeah. Weather sucks, but it's also awesome.
so funny. Oh no.
All right. We what's the workout we're getting into?
Heavy load, short distance. I'll do it. So for max meters, you will carry 2 kettlebells in the front rack position for as long as possible. When you reach max distance, you can set them down. So max distance would be when your form breaks down, when your elbows are dropping, when you're arching your back and you're just can't really carry them. Set them down, rest for 2 minutes, and you will repeat that 20 times for max meters total. And then substitutes, you can use 2 dumbbells or barbell in the front rack, which I think would be probably worse.
Yeah, anything in the front rack sucks.
Front rack's awful. Yeah,
It's awful.
Front rack is terrible.
I don't even like front squats.
Yep.
But yeah.
If you've been on strength track for a while, I made up a mini version, heavy load short distance light, that we do pretty much once a cycle.
Yes.
Light, heavy light. I love it. It's the heavy
LITE.
version. No, I get it.
The heavy light. Yeah.
Version
Or
2.0.
Or sometimes these are our dailies at the end too. Just front rack.
Well, I thought of 2 different workouts. We have a lot of carry workouts, like just carry things. And so I thought of a new one.
Kyle, yo.
I want a new Meet Yourself Saturday, and it's going to be called the Unbroken Mile.
Oh no.
And so it's essentially the Iron Mile, but you have to go the distance for a mile and you cannot set it down. So you cannot set the weight down at any point in time during your mile. So 800 meters out, 800 meters back, cannot set the weight down. It's going to make your weight selection very different. So it's like, it's kind of like a scaled version of the Iron Mile in weight, but in effort, it's going to be maybe the worst thing you've ever done. So I definitely want to try that.
Or anything.
Well, I was kind of undecided about that. I was like, should it be the barbell or could it be like a sandbag or, whatever else you want to carry?
I mean, unbroken, that's already like the pretty crazy no matter what it is. Even like a sandbag would be kind of wild.
Fine.
My hands are going to be numb if it's a barbell.
You can use whatever you want. You can use a sandbag.
I'm going to go ahead and say I've already accomplished the Unbroken Mile multiple times.
Me dose and the Iron Man.
That's how I do the Iron Mile. I don't set it down.
Yeah.
Wow. Brag much?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's not why we're here, Kyle.
I don't have a lot to brag about around here, but I'll brag about that.
Well, this is something that I wanted to, because it forces people to better select their weights. And I think that's maybe what if you've completed that already, what you've gotten good at is, what weight you should be doing for this. And other people aren't as good at it because they're having to set it down a lot. And I think that it makes it a lot worse. And all these carry workouts just kind of suck with carrying. Oh, the other one I thought of was Tempo Murph. So all the calisthenics have to be to a metronome.
Hmm.
40 beats per minute metronome.
I'm editing this out.
I already
Yeah,
hate this
is
one.
done. We're
no,
done.
we'll keep the alliteration. We'll call it metronome Murph. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm editing this out. Only the team's gonna know.
So all that to say, I don't have a ton to say about the current workout we're talking about. I already forgot what it was. I wanted to mention 2 new workouts that may be coming to a Meet Yourself Saturday near you in the near future. So anyway, if anybody has tips on today's workout, go for it.
Maybe this will have people listen to the full episodes because we're just changing up workouts on the spot.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
GGA 5K
We did the
came out.
GGA.
It's only been there.
It's because we've briefed or talked about every single workout multiple
Probably 3
times.
times at least.
Yeah. And I mean, they're almost enough to go. How many do we have? Like, it's like 30 or 40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's quite a
something
bit.
like that. We've got
Yeah,
a
there's
Only a
a lot of them.
handful of them repeat. And then
But I
it's
feel
every
like
year.
it proved how many people listened to the end because nobody posted about the GGA 5K. I thought
I
for
think
sure
like 2
we'd
people
get.
There's
ended
like
up
2
doing
people.
it. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I can say whatever I want here at the end. It's like no one's going to know that
Y'all
these
ain't
things are
listening.
coming. They're like,
This is just a team meeting now.
where's Metronome Murph? Like, no one knows that. So Metronome Murph and the Unbroken Mile coming your way. Looking
Okay.
forward to
I
it.
love it.
I already hate metronome Murph.
Well, in that vein, for heavy load short distance, I would say choose your weight properly because it will get heavier over time. And I like what Joe said as well about when your form starts breaking down. If you start like leaning back like that, trying to keep the weight in the front rack, set that stuff down.
This
Just set
isn't
it
Weekend
down.
at Bernie's.
Yeah, just set it down. Set it down.
I want to
take
say
your
that
rest time.
for like anything. I'm going to just say that for any poor form.
Oh,
This isn't
great.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
Because he's just leaning back and he's either
Yeah.
leaning back or like he's just slumped over because he's dead.
Well, yeah, he's got bad life form because he's dead. So
Yeah. Don't Weekend at Bernie's.
yeah. We're going to wrap this one up. We're just,
All right.
I'm starting to stack my papers.
Okay.
All right, we're good.
I think we're good.
I guess I'll throw in an actual tip. Yeah, I agree with Kyle. When the front rack form gets crappy, you can hurt yourself. So
Yeah.
keep that upper back tight, and it's going to be very uncomfortable, and that's fine. Don't like round your upper back to such a degree where this doesn't hurt anymore. It will later. It might not like right then. So work those muscles in the back and keep it tight. But that's about it. And then maybe in the same vein of the unbroken miles, select your weights appropriately. Very important. Not going too heavy on that. But that's all I have for this one.
All I would say too, like if this is 20 rounds and you set it, you can make this workout super easy, right? Because I mean, you
Yeah.
kind of like made it for whoever it is going to choose when they're going to put it down. So my tip was actually like, obviously, if you're hurting your form, sure, stop. But if you stop every time your brain tells you to stop, this workout's not going to be a Meet Yourself Saturday. So again, another mental heavy carry kind of thing. So
I'll say
be wary of that.
lighter weights on this workout can actually make it harder because you're going to be carried
Because
as
you walk longer, yeah.
We kind of talked about that the last one too. Yeah. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're going super heavy or super light. It's going to suck either way.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like the weight should just be like right at the challenge point of wanting to break down your form over distance, because then that's the decision you make to meet yourself, right? Should I set it down or should I keep going a little bit further? You make that decision once, but then you have to make that decision over and over again.
20 times.
Yeah. So I
Right.
think that you want it, if you go super heavy, I think that's a detriment to the workout itself. And probably same with going light. Light, I mean, if it's way too light, I don't even know. But yeah, so it's a moderate.
This could be hours if you go too light.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbroken miles.
Oh no.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get out of here. For all 3 of you still listening, you probably are subscriber to Garage Gym Athlete. So thank you very much for being a part of our Garage Gym Athlete programming. If no one's listening who is not a member, or whatever, if you're not a member, go sign up at garagegymathlete.com. You can do a 14-day free trial, and we'd love to have you. And you can get included in some of these new Meet Yourself Saturday workouts that may or may not happen in the next few months. But that's it. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Thanks for listening.